So electric vehicles and natural disasters, are they a good idea to have or a terrible one? So today we're going to talk about if having an EV is a good idea for evacuating a hurricane, living in a hurricane, dealing with power outages after a hurricane, or other natural disasters like tornadoes, floods, various other things. So we got 9 points we're going to hit on in this video, and the first one is power outages and charging availability. Of course, this is one of the biggest concerns that people have, is availability of electricity and charging their electric vehicle. Since EVs rely entirely on electricity, a prolonged power outage can prevent access to charging, leaving drivers stranded if they haven't charged their vehicles in advance. So the solution to this is having your vehicle charged to 100% before a hurricane hits. Hurricanes don't just appear out of nowhere like some tornadoes might. They usually have quite a big lead time before they make landfall, and you can prepare best by charging your electric vehicle to 100% and keeping it at that. As well, having a backup power source, whether you have a backup generator or maybe you have solar on your home and you have a large battery backup system, which you could even just buy a large battery backup system. Like there's some manufacturers like Anchor and a few others that have large battery backups that you can use to power your fridge, your stove, and charge your electric car. So there are options out there that you could have to be prepared in case of an emergency. Point number 2 is the limited access to charging availability after the hurricane has hit, or even beforehand if you don't have charging at home. Maybe lots of people are out charging at the Tesla chargers if you have a Tesla. The thing to note is you can use other chargers. You don't have to just use a Tesla charger. There are other chargers out there like Electrify America in the States or Electrify Canada, Flow, and there's a bunch of other networks out there that you can charge your electric car at. So getting used to what options there are, just like gas stations, there are many options out there. And of course, if electricity's out, also you can't pump gas. So it's the same situation, same boat that you're in. Point number 3 that people worry about, and I myself have thought about, and what would I do during this situation, is if there is a hurricane and you need to evacuate. Now, while you're evacuating, there's going to be lots of other people evacuating, and usually roads are blocked up, clogged. There's more congestion, more traffic, which is actually a benefit to an EV, because the slower you're moving, the less power you're using. And in stop and go traffic, you are actually regenerating your battery, so you can go a further distance than you would if you were, say, going 70 miles an hour or 110 kilometers an hour. You are using more of your battery going at speed like that than you are going slower moving and using regen braking to regenerate your battery. You are going to end up being able to drive a further distance away, which is ideal in case of an emergency. Of course, you may need to charge depending on how far away you plan on leaving, but you probably don't need to drive more than 400 kilometers away, so you should be totally fine with one charge, assuming that you've charged before you left. Again, one way to combat this is to make sure you have a full charge before you evacuate. If you live in an area like Florida, for example, where you're more prone to getting a hurricane, you should plan out your evacuation route, different charging spots and different solutions to where you might be able to charge. And again, to remind you, electricity is everywhere. Gas stations, not so much. Electricity you could plug in at a motel, a hotel, a light post, wherever. If you really need to and you need to get out of there, you can talk to someone that's around, see if you can use their power in order to charge your car and continue on your evacuation journey. But again, having your car charged more so to the max, to the 100%, 80%, whatever, is going to help you speedily evacuate as needed. Point number 4, flooding and water damage. All vehicles are prone to flooding and water damage, but especially if you're near the ocean and salt water is coming to get your car, it's not good for any car, but especially electric vehicles whose batteries can really be damaged. Now, battery cells and the way that they build the battery technology is very sealed and waterproof, which is why we can drive it in the rain, we can wash our cars, but as far as driving it into deep water, probably still not the best idea. although they do have vehicles like the Cybertruck, which has wade mode, which pressurizes things in the battery to prevent water from getting in there. So if you have a Cybertruck, you have that benefit of wade mode, having to worry a little bit less about that, but I personally would still try and avoid driving into really deep water. But of course, if you're evacuating, you need to get out of there and just drive through the water and keep going if you really need to. So point number 5 is some people are worried about the increased demand for power as the power grid starts to get back up after a hurricane if the power was wiped out, and people are worried that more people are going to be using power, drawing power, charging vehicles, getting their ACs running, and all those various things. What can you do to help with this situation? Of course, charge your vehicle as needed. Charging it overnight is usually the best time to do so anyways, so charging it then. The other point, which I'll touch on a bit later as well, is that quite a few EVs out there now, you can draw power from the EV to power some things in your house, say your refrigerator, stove, or your air conditioner. Vehicles like the Cybertruck have a function called power share, which you can actually use the full capacity of the Cybertruck battery to power your home. And some of those, depending on what you're running, can power your home for up to 4 days. Now, that's a long time. Power should be restored unless it's an extreme event. In case of an extreme event, you also could leave your house and go charge your vehicle and bring it back, because within 100 miles, 100 kilometers or so, you should be able to get to somewhere that has power, charge your vehicle, bring it back, continue powering your house. As well, having a generator or battery backup is an ideal solution as well to have in your home. Point number 6 is having limited access to maintenance and repairs after a hurricane. So the best thing to do, just like with any vehicle, is making sure that you are maintaining your vehicle properly, keeping it in good shape at all times, because especially after a hurricane and you may need to be driving further distances to get groceries or supplies or whatever, having a functional and working vehicle is going to be beneficial for you and your family if you can drive out of the area that you're in. As well, there may not be the technicians and things available to work on your vehicle, so it may take a bit longer to get things done, especially after a major natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, fire, other issues like that. But at the same time, it's probably going to be pretty similar for any other vehicle as well. Point number 7 is, I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, is that there is the opportunity with the electric vehicle to use it as a battery backup to power things in your home, charge phones, run your coffee maker, and other things like that. Now, with Tesla, it only works with the Cybertruck to basically power things. Previous vehicles don't really work for that. I tried to run a coffee maker with my Model 3. Didn't work. Now, there is ways around it by using adapters and other things in order to basically convert the power and small electronics, but you're not going to be able to charge your home, power your home with the other models of Teslas besides the Cybertruck, which has the power share functionality. Now, with power share coming on the new Tesla wall chargers, the universal ones, maybe they'll be implementing and putting in the hardware in order to be able to do this in some of the other vehicles, because it is a great option and great opportunity for those of us that don't have a generator and our power goes out. Being able to use the car in order to power things is ideal. But if you don't have power and you need air conditioning or you need heat, there is camp mode in the Tesla, so you can sleep in there and hang out in there and be climatized, especially for those people that are more vulnerable and they need a set climate that can't handle too much heat or too much cold. At least you can go hang out in the car, stay there, keep climatized, keep yourself safe. Point number 8 is kind of tying into hurricane evacuation, and what some areas are planning on doing and thinking about is coming up with EV specific evacuation routes, which will have additional fast chargers along the route in order to get more EV users out, and basically having specific lanes for them to use to get further away from the impacts of hurricanes, especially in states like Florida. There is talks and solutions that they're trying to figure out for that in order to basically speedily get people out and allow them to have more charging capabilities, because there are a lot of people that don't have home charging availability, and they rely on third-party chargers and outside solutions. So having an EV specific evacuation plan or route would be definitely ideal for people in those situations. Point number 9 is to make sure you have proper plans and communication and apps and things like that planned ahead of time so that you know where you're going, you know your escape route, you know where you want to charge, where you might want to stop along the route while you're leaving, because with technology and cell phones, we can lose power, lose cell service. So not having a full plan in place prior can leave us more stressed, give us anxiety. So it's better to plan ahead, especially if you're visiting or living in a place that is more prone to hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, avalanches, any number of those situations. It's always good to think of the worst case scenario, hope that it doesn't happen, but be planned and prepared. Whether you're driving a gas vehicle or an electric vehicle, having a plan in place is going to make you feel much more relaxed and less stressed during a time of disaster. Overall, while electric vehicles can provide some positives during a natural disaster like home backup, camp mode, so you can sleep and stay climatized in your car for longer periods of time, maybe even keeping food cooled if you have a cooler that is plug-in fridge into your vehicle. Many positives to that, as well as evacuating, I don't think is a major concern unless you're driving beyond 400 kilometers, say 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers, depending on what electric vehicle you have. I don't think it's that major of a concern in terms of evacuating, and it can provide a good source of a battery backup and power for your home, as well as just a safe place to sleep and stay if the power is out and it's super cold or super hot. The car can provide a good option without the fumes, but we can't deny that there are some negatives if your car is not fully charged, and if the power is out for a very long period of time and you can't get your car out, you're kind of out of luck either way if you were in a gas vehicle or not. Those can be some of the downsides, and some of the things to mitigate those risks are to have some sort of battery backup at your home, whether it's a portable solution, a gas generator, or another option. It's always good to be prepared for different types of disasters depending on where you live. Now, if you have any tips or tricks or things that I may have missed in this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what that is. Hopefully this video provided you with some things to think about in order to prepare for any sort of future event. It's always good to think ahead, but also don't be so stressed about getting into an electric vehicle versus a gas vehicle in terms of evacuations and living with it for emergencies. Really, there's negatives and positives to both. And one of the major negatives to gas vehicles is if everyone's evacuating and everyone's going to gas stations, taking the gas for their generators, for their cars to evacuate, the gas station can run out of gas. And guess what? Getting in more gas, they have to drive in a transport truck with fuel in it to put into the gas station. Those may not be able to come in and bring that in during a natural disaster where having electricity is going to be more commonplace. But I'm totally fine with my electric vehicle for disasters and everyday life. But let me know what you guys think. Does it stress you out? Are you for electric vehicles or are you against them? I don't think they're for everyone, but I wanted to make this video, share it with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to learn more about Tesla, make sure you subscribe and check out some of these videos here, one of these, and the subscribe button should be over here if I'm pointing the right way. If not, it's over here. My name is David with Teslas in Canada. Have an awesome day and thank you so much for watching. Bye.